This is Gemara Avodah Zarah Daf Vav, and we're holding on. Hey Amid Beis, we're 3 lines from the bottom. We just finished discussing the first din in the Mishnah, which is that for 3 days prior to a holiday, a festival of the Goyim, you should not be doing business, as they might be moida to their Avodah Zarah. And we explained why it's 3 and not 30 days. But says the Gemara, we quoted a drasha to prove it. But ask the Gemara 3 lines on the bottom, the drasha that we just said, Mikol Achaya, Mikol Basar, is needed to exclude a treifa where that pasuk is written, which is what? Treifa delay, which is klape, the noyach in the teva, that he did not bring treifas into the teva. Says the Gemara, treifa melachayo zera nafka. We learn from different pasuk. Ask the Gemara, then we can understand. But Ella, as we turn over to Vav Amid Aleph, ask the Gemara, Lemanda Amar, treifa yoledes, according to the opinion that says a treifa could give birth. My iko lememar. What are you going to say if a treifa can give birth? So then the end of the pasuk that says any offspring, that should exclude it. Answers the Gemara, Amar Kra Itcha B'Daimin Lacha. Therefore, just as Noach himself is not a treifa, so too the animals cannot be a treifa as well. Ask the Gemara further, V'Dama Noach Gufei treifa. How do we know? Maybe Noach himself was indeed a treifa. Answers the Gemara, Havei Tamim Ksiv Bei. V'Dama Tamim B'Durach Havaya. Maybe he was tamim in his ways, doesn't mean physically. Answers Gemara, tzaddik sivvei, of course. Noach was a big tzaddik. Telma, tamim b'drachav and tzaddik b'maisav havei. And it's not referring to his physical body. Says the Gemara, lo sal gedaitach. Why? Do Noach gufei treifa havai. Tiza gedaitach do treifa havai. Amli rachmana kavasech ayol shlamin. Noach himself was a treifa. Would it be that Hashem says to Noach, Kavasech Ayol, take into animals, take into the teva only things that are like you? Has to be Davka Treifa, Shlamim L'Tayol? That makes no sense. But ask the Gemara, Hasha Denafka Le'mi Itach. But now that we're saying, we learn it out from Itach with you. So now, the other part of the pasuk, what do you do with it? Lachi Zera. Lamerli. Answers the Gemara, if we just had the pasuk ba'alma, I would have thought, what? That the animals are there just for companionship. However, but it would not be a problem, an older, sterile animal. And therefore, that's what the pasuk comes along and says, Zera, to teach us it can't be an old, it can't be a sterile animal. Ibayalu asking Gemara further. So it goes back to the Mishnah. Says the Gemara, when the Mishnah says for 3 days you cannot do business with the Goyim, is that including the day of their festival, or is that prior and the day of the festival is the 4th day? Says Gemara Tashma Rishmalayim Shleish Levneim or Shleish La'achreim Alser. So he's Ve'ideyem includes the day of their holiday. Says Gemara, it makes no sense. Rabbi Shmuel is going to count the day on both halves. Answers the Gemara, yes. You know why? Because it said Shleish Levneim. Therefore, it also says Shleish Achreim. Even though you're right, it's not the simplest thing. The Shleisha Achreim. Tashema continues the Gemara. Dam Rav Tachliv Rav Dihimi Amar Shmuel. Yoim Echad. L'div Rav Yishmael La'olam Aser. According to Rav Yishmael, Yoim Rishon. It is always forbidden to do business on a Sunday. Yoim Rishon with the Goyim. V'yisal gedaitach en v'yideim ha'ik arba v'chamisha tishari. If you tell me it's also to do business with, if you tell me that the Shloisha Yamim includes the day of the festival. So why would he say that it includes all the days? Hayikar Bava Chamisha the Shari on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday it's Mutter. Answers the Gemara, leave the Rishmael, look at me by lay. The Hain below Yideim, it's Pashit. Ki kami by lay, what was the Shaila? Aliba de Rabbanon. What is the status according to the Rabbanon? Doesn't include that day of the holiday. And on that, Amar Avina Tashema, let's bring a raya. Ve'elu heini deyan shalakum kalnada sitrainaya v'kartasim. Says Ravina, one of the days, one is called kalenda, saturnalia, and karatesim. V'amar Rav Chanan bar Rava, kalendaya is ches yamim, achar tkufa. It's for 8 days after the winter solstice. Saturnalia, shmanyam 8 days, levnei tekuva. Simanech achar v'kedim saratani. These are good that the time you show hin v'ideyem. Asara ave. It should have been 10. Ask the Gemara, not 3. Answers the Gemara. Tana kuli kalnada. Chad yoimach shavlei. He held that kalnada was only 1 day. Therefore, 9 plus 1, it's going to be 10 days, and that's what the brisa meant. Continues the Gemara, Amar Ravashi Tashima. So comes in Ravashi and he tries to prove that the 3 days do not include the date itself. Levnei Yideim Shalakum Shleisha Yamim. V'yisagadaydechen v'yideim Lesni Yideim Shalakum Shleisha Yamim. So proves the Gemara that in the verbiage, in the way that the Mishnah is written, it says Levnei Yideim Shalakum. But if it was excluding, one more time. If it was including, if it meant 2 days and the holiday, it should have said, Ideim shel akum shleisha yamim, which would then go on the entire entity. If you're going to tell me, as you just said a moment ago, so listen, Idam shel akum gimel yamim lifneim. Could have said the holidays of the Goyim of 3 days, and then you would be able to keep the Lifnei, and you'll be able to hone in on the detail that what? That it includes the date. Ela shmamina, hein below yideim shmamina. So proves the Gemara that the 3 days do not include the day of the holiday, meaning it's going to be a 3 plus 1, a total of 4 days. Continues the Gemara, 8 lines in the bottom. What is the root cause, asks the Gemara, of this takana? Mishum harvacha, oidoma mishum lifnei iver. Says the Gemara, is the reason you cannot do business due to the fact the profit which the Goyim are going to make, they're going to go and they're going to think they're Avodah Zarah, and therefore we don't want that. Or it's that the business itself, we're worried that the Goyim are going to use for their Avodah Zarah, the animal. Says the Gemara, says the Gemara, you know the difference is, if he has his own animal, he's still going to think the idol. He has his own animal, therefore we don't have to be worried about that. Says Gemara, whoa, that's a massive chiddush. Because he also has his own animal, there's no lift the iver. Vatanya. But we learned in our brayso, Amar Rav Nasan, teaches Rav Nasan. As we turn over to Vavan Mebeis, Minayin, from where do we know? Shal Yoshid Adam, Koishal Yayin the Nazir, how do we know that you cannot pass a cup of wine to a Nazir, Vavim and Achai Livnei Noyach, or to even Achai to a guy, to one of the Shemis Vnei Noyach, Tamlever Livnei Iver, Loi Sitin Mershal, even though they could get it on his own, as the Gemara now explains, even if you didn't give it to him, he still could take it on his own. And we see even though he could get it on his own, explains the Gemara, you're right. And this gets into the depth of lifnei iver. Says the Gemara, you know, we're talking about the kai betray avri nahara. We're talking about when is it also you're on two sides of the river and he cannot access the item without you giving it for him. And that is the reason why it's included in lifnei iver. Dekanami will bring a raya, 6 lines from the top. Vavam ebeis dekatani lo yoishit, v'loy katani lo yitain. The Brisa says a person should not extend, and it does not say a person should not hand. Shema mina. From there we have a raya that it must be trei avri dinara, 2 sides of the river, and that's when this lifnei iver. If not, there's no lifnei iver. Continues the Gemara, Yibayu Lahu, 8 lines down, delving a little bit deeper into the Isser in our Mishnah. Nasa v'nasan mai. Says the Gemara, let's say someone did not listen to the Mishnah, and he did business within the 3 days of the Gaisha holiday. What is the halacha? Is there an Isser on the benefit? Rav Yechlan Amar, Nasan v'nasan aser. Shlaka shamar nasan v'nasan mutter. Once it's done, the benefit you're allowed to get benefit from. So Eisei Rav Yechlan Reish Lakish said it's mutter. As Rav Yechanan Idein Shalakom. The Brisa says that the Yom Tovim, the holidays of the Goyim, Nasan v'nasan asurim. My love, Lifnei Yideyam is now referring to before their holidays. Yeah, we see that the proceeds, that which you make, are aser. Answers Reish Lakish Loi. No, Yideyam Deik Afka. It means on their holidays. That's when it's going to be aser. Yigdiyam, another lashon. Eser Reish Lakish Rav Yechon the other way. Yidein Shalakom Nasan v'nasan aser. Yideyam in Lifnei Yideyam Loi. Answers no, Tani Yidei v'Yidei Yideyam. Kari lei, says the Gemara, both of them have the same term, and therefore there's no diuk either way. Continues the Gemara, 15 lines down. The first one line is Tanya. Tanya kavasi d'reish lakish. Araya. Kisham ru'aser lasis v'lasini mahem. When do we say that it's forbidden to do business with them before their holidays? Lo yasru ela b'davar hamiskayim. It's only with something that will be around for the festival itself. Of Dav Shein Miskayim Loi. Vafilu B'Davar Miskayim, says the Brisa, Nasan Mutter. Once you did it, it's Mutter, a clear raya to Reish Lakish. So the Gemara leaves it, a raya to Reish Lakish. Tani Rav Zved continues the Gemara. But Devei Rav Aishia, Davar Shein Miskayim Meichrim. Something that's in Miskayim Meichrim Lahem, you can sell to them. Aval in loichem mehem, you can't buy it from them. And articulates the Gemara a story. Ahuminai, there was a man, the Shadulei Dinara de Kisrana, Rav Yehuda Nesiya, who sent a dinar from Caesar to Rav Yehuda Nesiya b'yom Eidai on the day of the pagan holiday. Haviyaseh Reish Lakish Kamei, Reish Lakish was sitting there, and Amar Hechi Avid says Reish Lakish, what should I do? Ashkale, if I should accept it. Azul Maida, he's going to go and think he's Avodah Zarah. Lo yashkalei, havalei eva, he's going to hate me, and we never like to create enmity, hatred between the Yidden and the Goyim. So Amar le Reish Lakish, Tal v'zaraik, Aisa lebahar. Says Reish Lakish, take the coin and throw it into a pit. Amar, Rav Yehuda Nesiya, says to Reish Lakish, Kol shekein davalei eva, it's even worse. Says the Gemara, no, I meant just don't get any benefit from it. Make it that it was an accident, that it falls, so you won't get offended, but at the same time, he's not going to go and think as if a desire that you took this item from him. We continue 8 lines from the medium-sized line. Says the Mishnah, you cannot lend them or borrow something from them. So ask the Gemara, I understand why you can't lend them items. Why? Because the guy gets a benefit. To borrow from them. Coming by till I understand. The guy is getting less. He's diminishing. You're taking something from him. So why is that forbidden? So Amar Abaye Gezerah Lishamem Atul Ashin. It's a Gezerah. Rav Amar Kula Misham To Asl Maidu says Rava, no, he'll always go and think is Avodah Zarah. That is the reason why it's usher. Even the fact that the Gid had to come to the guy and borrow from him, the guy will be happy and go thank his idol. The Alvaisa and Lilvus Mehem to lend and borrow for them. Bishlam Alvaisa says the Gemara similar kasha to lend them. Mishad Kamar Viechlu. A little voice man to borrow from them. Amai, why am I bikes? A little voice man ought to Alvaisa and Rav Amakul Misham. The Azal Maidahu, the same Shakvataria. On the first medium-sized line continues the Gemara Leprayan, Leparan, Lefarim Mehem to repay a debt to them or to collect payment. Says the Gemara, Pesham Leparan, I understand why it's also to pay them. Why? Because he gets benefit that they have their money back. Al-Ephraim may have to take money from them. You're diminishing them. Again, the same kasha. That all go and they're going to be happy that he doesn't have a debt anymore, that he paid off his debt. So we have four different cases, Says the Gemara Shrichi on the third medium-sized line. If we said the first case, do business. To borrow from them, it's diminishing. That's fine. Step number 2 is that what? The Yid needs his help. You're borrowing from him, and therefore that's meaningful to him. Therefore, Lilvus may have to borrow from him, to borrow money from the guy. He just been paying, he just lent away his money. Amar, Toiv, he thinks, he thinks, oh, I'm never going to get the money back for that juice. Maybe that's okay. Maybe he said that case, I would have thought borrowing is why, because the guy will say, I'm not worried, I'm going to lose. Why? I can always force him to pay. He'll go think is idle. Aval Ephraim may have to get paid from them. That's it. You're taking their money. He's losing cash. Therefore, that's the chiddush. And all 4 cases, both Abai and Rava hold to their guns. Abai is saying, the Gzeira and Rava is saying that no, we have to be concerned that there's still an element that the guy is going to be happy. Stop over here. I'll pick it up from our view to the next year. B'siyata Dishmaya.